Welcome to all of you who are joining us around the world and across the nation this morning. We are glad that you are here. Columbine United Church, if you are joining us and you are in one of our military service branches, we want to give a special welcome to you. Thank you for listening in or watching us this morning. Let's give them all a huge, big welcome this morning. Before I read our scripture this morning, I want to put it in a little context. Most of you have heard the parable of the prodigal son. Yeah? Prodigal son was, there was a rich man who had two sons, and he wanted to give his inheritance, and one of them wanted it early, and he went, and he got it, and he squandered it all away. And then he realized his life was really, really bad, and decided, you know what, I'm going to go home and beg my father, and maybe he'll take me in as a servant. And of course, he came over the hillside, and his father saw him a long way off, and the father came running after him, and there was a big, nice little reunion there, and a lot of crying and tears and all that sort of thing. The Bible doesn't say all that, but I'm pretty sure there was. And then the father goes and puts the best coat on him and takes his best calf, and slaughters it and has this huge feast, this huge party. Of course, the man had an older son who had done everything exactly right and had always done things the way he was supposed to, and that guy was not very happy that dad was throwing this party for the prodigal son and that all of this was going on. He went and told dad so, and the story kind of ends there. It doesn't end in a nice, wonderful little way. Jesus tells that story, and right afterwards, he tells this story, the one that we're about to read right here. So Jesus said to his disciples, there was once a rich man. So he just told a story about one rich man. Now he's telling a story about another rich man who had a manager. And he got reports that the manager had been taking advantage of his position by running up huge personal expenses. So he called him in and said, "What's this I hear about you? You're fired, and I want a complete audit of your books." So the manager said to himself, "What am I going to do? I've lost my job as manager, and I'm not strong enough for a laboring job, and I'm not too proud to beg. I've got a plan. Here's what I'll do, and then when I'm turned out into the street, people will take me into their houses." So then he went at it. One after another, he called in the people who were in debt to his master, and he said to the first, "How much do you owe my master?" He would reply, 100 jugs of olive oil. So the manager said, "Here, take your bill, sit down here, quick now, instead write 50. And to the next, "And you, what do you owe?" He answered, 100 sacks of wheat. And he said, "Take your bill, write in 80. Now here's a surprise. The master praised the crooked manager. And why? Because he knew how to look after himself. Streetwise people are smarter in this regard than law-abiding citizens. They are on constant alert, looking for angles, surviving by their wits. I want you to be smart in the same way, but for what is right, using every adversity to stimulate you to creative survival, to concentrate your attention on the bare essentials, so you will live, really live, and not complacently just get by on good behavior." And there Scripture text ends. Let's consider how we'll apply these unique words to our lives this morning. Creative survival. Creative survival. Now I'm learning all about creative survival. I have a toddler. And man, it is survival of the fittest. And I'm pretty sure he's more fit than I am most days. Yesterday, we've had Case now for over a year, but I think yesterday, I'm truly now a father after yesterday. Because we were swimming at swim lessons with our swim instructor, and we're doing this thing that's called a monkey crawl, where he's on the edge of the pool and he has to hold on. He's learning how to hold on and climb out on his own and then jump back in. And and all those sort of things. And he's been doing this for months, so he's got this. And so I'm just really standing there in 3 feet of water just because, right? And so he's crawling along, he's grabbing all the toys along the way that motivates him to move down the wall and all these sort of things. And his hand slips. Well, I'm right there, so I go in to catch him. Well, as I go in to catch him, his instincts kick in, and his legs grab a hold of that wall, and he kicks, and his huge head's flying right at me, and squarely hits me right here in the eye, and I've got a nice little shiner right up here in the corner. So I say, I'm now officially a father because my son has given me a black eye. And that's the sign. That's when it happens, right there. Fully a father. But creative survival happens just like this. I mean, my wife and I, you couldn't ask for two people more prepared for parenthood who have absolutely no idea what they're doing, okay? I mean, I'm a pastor who has extensive training, history, classes, experience in child development. And my wife, well, she's a marriage, child, and family counselor. I mean, we're supposed to be prepared. And I'll tell you what, after a couple weeks, man, we were out of our bag of tricks, okay? Like, I mean, we're like, oh, we got this, you know, using our backpack of all that great knowledge that you store up and all the things that work with all your kids that don't seem to work when you're a parent, right? And it truly is creative survival. It's surviving by your wits. And all of you as parents out there, you know this. It's surviving by your wits. It's being on constant alert. And it's getting down to the bare minimum essentials of what is required to get through the day. Because you know if you require any more than that, you're just not going to survive, right? Creative survival is just like that. And it relates hugely to this story today. Now, we're in the middle of the sermon series, Jesus in Blue Jeans. And this is not just an excuse for us to wear blue jeans all summer, okay? Although it's really nice to be able to just do that and say that. Of course, I wear blue jeans all the time here at church. You know, I'm just doing it, you know. But it gives Steve a good reason to wear blue jeans. But we're acknowledging the fact that God is in everyday life, in the ordinary, in the regular, in the average. Things don't have to be extraordinary. Things don't have to be great. Things don't have to be out of this world. And yet, I acknowledge that most of the time, I don't want things to be ordinary. I do want them to be extraordinary and amazing and out of this world. And I sort of want God to be that way too. And so this Jesus in blue jeans, as much as I like the Jesus in blue jeans, because I can relate to the Jesus in blue jeans, I go, come on, Jesus, step it up a little bit. I want the good stuff, right? I want the best stuff. That whole perfection thing, that perfect life, I want that. In fact, I was raised to want that kind of life. I was the kid and the teenager and the college student who got the straight A's. I got straight A's, and not because my parents made me. Okay? I mean, yeah, somewhere in there they taught me to want that, but I naturally wanted straight A's, and they knew the moment I would step off the bus and walk in the door, if I had not, it was all over my face. I was disappointed in me. And I would do everything to get my A. And I was a great student. And I was a great kid. I was a great kid in front of adults. I was a great kid in front of other kids. Okay? I mean, I was your model child. I did it all right. I'm the oldest. I have all that burden on me. Don't go there. And I was doing it all perfectly. And for some of you, this is hard to believe, I was the most serious person in the world. Always. Like, my parents rarely saw me laugh growing up. I was a super serious kid. And I thought I had to do everything just right so I get the good grades, so I could go to a good school, get the good degrees. I did my BA in 3 years. I did 21, 22, 23 credit hours every single semester. I did all the winter semesters, all the summer semesters, did all the credit I could before I went to college. I mean, I was the uber student. I did it all exactly right so I could go and get the good job. Okay? Now, forget the fact I was on the pastor track. I mean, I know most of you are like, that's not really that great of a job, Justin, but for me, it was, that's where I was headed. That's where I was going. It was the good thing. I married a wonderful wife. Eventually now I have a wonderful family. I've done it all the right way. You do all this good stuff. But here's the thing. You can do all of that and not be happy. You can do everything right. Get the best grades. Apply yourself perfectly. You can go to the right schools and the right colleges and the right universities and have all the right letters behind your name. You can even get the right job, and a good job, and a well-paying job, and go into the career that you wanted to go into. And you get the perfect spouse and the perfect family and the perfect neighborhood with the perfect yard, with the perfect lawnmower that's sitting right outside of Lowe's right now that I want. So that you can do it all over again with your kids so they can get the best grades, go to the best schools, get the best job, the whole thing. You can do all of that and not be happy. In fact, some of you out there are just like me. You are that person who does everything perfectly. You live life really well. You follow all of the rules. You comply with all the right regulations. You figure out all of the things that your teachers and your professors and your parents and your coaches and all these people in your life want, and you do it. And you wake up one day and you're just not happy. Because here's what happens. The unexpected happens. And the unexpected comes in all sorts of different forms. One form it comes in is you just wake up one day and go, yeah, all this stuff that you're supposed to do to make life great doesn't necessarily make it great. I mean, it's comfy, but fulfilled? And beyond that, there's all of the unexpected that can happen. You do all the right grades and you don't get in the right college. Or you do get in the right college, but you don't land the job. Or you land the job and you go, I hate this job, or I hate my boss, or I hate my coworkers. Or you get the right spouse, or you thought you did, and it comes crashing down. Or you go to have kids, and you can't. Or you have the kids, and something's wrong. Something doesn't work out. Kids don't turn out exactly the way you hope they would. So you can do all of this stuff perfectly and it not be perfect, and you not be happy, and it not be extraordinary. And you find out, no matter how much you put into it, it's not enough. Good behavior is not enough. In fact, it's not even the right ladder to be climbing up. Because none of us are perfect. And all the perfect people in the world who grew up in kind of the way I did, none of you want to be around people like me. We're miserable people. Always focused and intense and serious. Now for me, it fell off with my first real job. my first career job. And I told that story a few months ago, and if you weren't here, go back and listen to it. You can hear me cry and a whole bunch of sobbing and a whole bunch of stuff like that. It's a pretty decent sermon, but, you know. If you like crying and stuff, you know. And it comes crashing down. You go, what am I going to do now? That's the story of that we read today. Once was a rich man. He had a manager. Manager, probably doing a pretty good job, but seemed to be skimming some stuff off the top. Got a little too comfortable. In the situation. Began to think that the stuff that he was managing was his. Began skimming off the top. The ruler finds out about it. This rich man goes, whoa, no. That's mine. And you're fired. So the manager goes, well, what am I going to do? My life is crashing down around me. This life I have built. This life where in Roman history and society, he was the person that was the go-between between the ruling class and the peasant class. His job was to go to all the peasants, all the poor farmers, and take taxes and money from them. And he could take anything he wanted from them. It wasn't just like, oh, here's your 30% tax, and that's the end of it. He'd go, actually I want 40 from you, and I'll take 50 from you, and 70 from you. Yeah, we'll do 30 for you because I like you over here. And he would do that. And he was allowed to do that. And then he'd take some for himself. And he'd provide for his family. And these people in that society, they became the middle class. The way to become middle class in first century Israel was to do just that, was to become something like a tax collector, to be one of these middle people between the bourgeois and the peasants. Of course, the whole time he's making other people's lives miserable. So life starts coming crashing down. He goes, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to you, who I've been taking all this tax from, and I'm going to cut your bill in half. And I'm going to cut your bill 30%. And I'm going to cut your bill 60%. And you over here, I'm going to cut you 20%. And he starts all of this hospitality, this crooked hospitality out there. The rich man finds out, and he congratulates him. He says, look at you. You were savvy. You were smart. You've probably saved your life. And Jesus lifts up this story and tells us, hey, my disciples, I want you to go and be like this man. That's what we read in the story. He literally says, go and be like this guy. I want you to be streetwise. I want you to be able to take care of yourself. I want you to be on constant alert. I want you to survive by your wits. I want you to be the kind of person that looks adversity in the face and goes, I am creatively surviving. Who can take the worst situations and spin it and angle it into something fantastic. Now, these are not the words we would expect Jesus Christ to say. I mean, this is not your Sunday school Jesus, right? I mean, you didn't hear this story in Sunday school growing up. Nor did we teach you here at Columbine United Church. And the question is, what is Jesus getting at? See, there's another person that I know, because he's going to be my brother-in-law here in a few weeks. And that's Charlie Simmons. And Charlie's anything but perfect. And that's why I like him so much. See, Charlie did not grow up getting the best grades. At all. And Charlie definitely did not do everything right. And he was not a good little boy. Nor is he a good little boy still. See, Charlie has fun. Charlie does things his way. Charlie is street smart. Boy, is he street smart. And he has gone through adversity. He's been at the worst points of life that life can throw at you. And he has creatively survived. And he doesn't care about the status quo. He doesn't care about regulations. He really hates rules. He doesn't care about grades. Doesn't care about any of these trappings of life. The status quo goes out the window with Charlie. He is on constant alert. Constant alert for what? To do the good thing. Not the right rule, not the right behavior, but to do the good thing. To treat someone else well. Charlie's the sort of person that if you're in a car in a ditch just along the side of the road, Charlie's that guy in the beat-up van who pulls up behind you. And you go, am I about to get robbed right now? Charlie gets out and he helps you. And he gives what he has. Charlie's the kind of guy who, over here with Mark just a few weeks ago on a rafting trip, sees a man floating down the river, and they stop, and they spend hours trying to save a man's life. Even though it's his bachelor weekend party, even though they couldn't save the man, it's what people like Charlie and Mark do. Mark doesn't do the rules either, by the way. They do the right thing. Steve has said, when Steve gets into trouble in his life, who does he call? He calls Charlie. Because Charlie, no matter what is going on in life, no matter where he's headed, he knows he's on a journey with it. And whatever's along that journey, he stops and looks at it and looks at those people and says, can I help you? You look like you're in trouble. Can I lend a hand? Charlie's the person that picks up the phone when you call because he knows you're calling for a good reason, because you need help. See, people like myself, the good A+ students, we're focused right here. Right here. My life was focused on me. And it wasn't until I said and decided and had that life come crashing down on me that I realized that I can't be perfect and create a happy life for myself, where I stopped and said, well, who does create good life? And it was the Charlie Simmons of the world who had the good life, who was creating good life and doing good, the kind of good that Jesus did in the world. And I went, oh, I'm on the wrong path. I've gotten it wrong. Our lives bloom out of adversity. The good comes out of the imperfection. The beauty can only be seen in the ugliness. It only means anything in the midst of the tragic and the suffering. Life, real life, a good life, comes from seeing others. It's not looking at me and going, I'm going to achieve so that I can have a good life and that I can have these things and I will and I and I and me and me. No. It's a life lived in the pursuit of the good for others, for helping somebody else. It's a simple life. It's a much simpler life. See, my life was complicated. Being perfect is a full-time job. And you get done with the end of the day, and your list is still this long. Because you can't be perfect. You can't do it all. You can't be amazing all of the time. Now, middle school and high schoolers that are back there still get straight A's, okay? And still go to the right school and marry someone good. But know that that won't make you happy. It won't make you miserable, but it won't make you happy. And it's no guarantee. Because if that is all of your focus, you have ultimately failed. And Jesus uses this crooked manager story to look at us and say, life is about others. This crooked manager, when the worst happened and he got creative, he finally realized what life was all about. It was about relieving the stress and the burden and the debt off of somebody else and making their life better. And in the process, he made a new path for himself and made a better life for him, and he was happier. He began to really live. And those people that he helped began to really be able to live. Jesus was looking at the Justin Spurlocks of the world and telling them, forget all of this stuff and see people and love on people and see needs and reach out to those needs and do what you can when you can at that moment. You don't have to be amazing or intelligent or have it all put together or have gone to the right school or married the right person and have the perfect family and live in the perfect place and all those sort of things. If you do, great. Look around you and see who needs help. But if you don't, know that God is well pleased with you. We overcome adversity. We overcome ourselves. We overcome whatever baggage it is that you've grown up with, because maybe you haven't grown up like me. Maybe you weren't crazy, neurotic like me. But when you see yourself as limited, it's actually really freeing. When you see yourself as imperfect, you can let yourself off the hook. When you know you can't do it all, then you can actually do something creatively, and something that probably actually makes a difference. See, it's the Jesus in blue jeans that teaches us all of this. The angelic, heavenly Jesus, the one that's all nice and pretty and wonderful and wears white, that Jesus doesn't get this stuff done. It's the Jesus in blue jeans that's in everyday life, that's in the busted up van that gets out and helps the person who's stranded along the road. It's the Charlie Simmons. Let us pray.